Welcome to the Workplace Minute, powered by H3HR Advisors and sponsored by WorkHuman. Thanks for joining me for a quick update on what's important in the world of work. My name is Steve Boese. Today in the Workplace Minute, we are examining the reasons why so many Americans are leaving the workforce and the economic and workplace factors driving that trend. Last week, the Bureau of Labor Statistics released the June employment report. And on a headline level, the report was mixed, but still positive for the most part. The top-line unemployment rate declined slightly to 4.2%, which is the lowest rate in a year, and remained near both historical lows and the so-called full employment rate of 4%. But the drop in the unemployment rate wasn't driven by a surge in people finding work and getting back into the workforce. Rather, it was driven by a substantial decrease in the number of people in the labor force, a drop of 720,000 people. In fact, the labor force participation rate, which measures the working age population of those either employed or not employed but actively looking for a job, fell to 61.5%, which is the lowest level since March of 2021, according to the BLS. Now, for some context, if we exclude the early COVID pandemic disruption, the labor force participation rate has not been this low since June of 1976, a full 50 years ago. Now, looking at the BLS household survey, where the participation numbers are derived from, it's a story of a consistently contracting labor force, potentially driven by unemployed workers simply giving up the job search. In June alone, the labor force plummeted by 720,000 people. And similarly, the ranks of those counted as not in the labor force, which is a group that includes the unemployed and those not looking for work, jumped by 832,000 people. And on a year-over-year basis, the labor force is down by just over 1 million workers, while the level of the employed workforce has also fallen by 1 point. Ranks of the unemployed have risen by about 40,000. The employment-to-population ratio slipped to 59% in June, which is the lowest since October of 2021. And all of that has happened while the unemployment rate has risen just by 0.1 of a percentage to 4. So if you dig into all these numbers, you can see that while the drop in participation rates, it's sometimes attributed to a shrinking immigrant population and retiring baby boomers and Gen Xers, recent data doesn't always support that rationale. And in June, the biggest plunge in participation came from what is defined as prime age workers, or those between the ages of 25 and 54. That rate fell 0.6 percentage points to 83.3%, the lowest since December of 2023. So why are so many workers, especially prime age and non-disabled workers, exiting the workforce? Let's examine a few factors. First, job search discouragement. Many healthy workers are giving up after encountering widespread hiring freezes, rigid requirements, lengthy interview cycles, or prolonged job searches. And economists note that limited opportunities in the current high interest rate environment have caused a spike in discouraged workers who simply stop looking entirely. Next, return to office friction. A severe mismatch exists between worker preferences and corporate mandates. Many prime-age mothers and parents are leaving the workforce because they can no longer find the hybrid or remote roles required to balance their family lives. Next, we have escalating caregiving demands. According to data for the U.S. Census Bureau, caregiving is the single largest reason prime-age women remain outside of the labor force. Skyrocketing childcare costs and the burdens of elder care force many non-disabled adults to act as full-time caregivers instead of paying for external help. Next, wage and inflation mismatches. Even though wages have ticked up slightly, they've failed to keep pace with inflation. And for some lower income or less skilled prime age adult workers, the high cost of commuting, for clothes, for working expenses, they outweigh the stagnant purchasing power of the wages that are being offered, leading them to stay home. And next we have the skills and tech evolution mismatch. Rapid transitions in the workplace, particularly the sudden integration of AI and other automated hiring tools, have created friction. And some workers find their skills are just misaligned with the open jobs. And while automated applicant tracking systems unintentionally filtered out many qualified candidates, leading many into early career exits. So why should you or any of us worry about all of this? If unaddressed, a long-term decline in labor force participation will lead to slower overall economic growth, which affects all of us, potential worker shortages, which some industries and locations are already experiencing, general wage inflation, which could impact some firms' ability to compete for talent, and reduce long-term competitiveness as U.S. firms begin to fall behind the world in innovation and in growth. What can be done at a policy level to slow down or even try to reverse this trend? Well, expanding affordable childcare. Implementing federal subsidies or tax credits for childcare removes the single largest barrier keeping prime-age women out of the workforce. More elder care support. Expanding paid family leave and medical care credits can reduce the burden on prime-age adults who are forced to quit their jobs to care for aging parents. And targeted immigration reforms, increasing the number of work visas for both high-skilled tech fields and vital manual jobs directly injects new labor into the market. And individual organizations are not helpless here as well. Here's a few things they can do right now to make their organizations easier to work with. First is supporting flexible and remote work. Implementing hybrid or remote work arrangements allows parents, caregivers, and rural residents to maintain employment. Next, robust reskilling programs, funding corporate training initiatives to help displaced workers quickly pivot into in-demand AI, tech, or even green energy jobs. And last, eliminating unwarranted job requirements. Many companies have already dropped their requirements for 4-year college degrees for jobs or unneeded related experience for their posted job advertisements. That encourages a wider applicant pool and allows more people to qualify for opportunities. The labor force participation rate isn't just another economic statistic. It actually represents millions of people who could be contributing their skills, experience, and potential to our economy, but who for one reason or another are no longer participating. And if we want to create a stronger labor market, we can't simply focus on creating more jobs. We have to focus on creating jobs that more people are actually able to do. That means reducing unnecessary barriers to employment, investing in flexibility, supporting caregivers, modernizing hiring practices, and making it easier, not harder, for qualified people to find meaningful work. And for HR leaders, this is more than a recruiting challenge. It's another leadership test. Even unnecessary degree requirements you remove, every flexible work option you create, every caregiver you support, every candidate you choose to evaluate based on skills instead of rigid credentials, expands access to work for someone who might otherwise remain on the sidelines. The future of the American workforce won't be determined by economic growth or Federal Reserve policy. It will also be determined by the choices employers make every day about who gets an opportunity to participate. If we want a larger, stronger, and more resilient workforce, the answer isn't simply finding better workers. It's making work accessible to more people. And that's a challenge every organization can begin addressing today. A big thank you to WorkHuman for supporting the Workplace Minute. Be sure to subscribe to the HR Happy Hour Network on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Steve Boese, and this has been the Workplace Minute from H3 HR Advisors.